Recording almost live from deepest, darkest Appalachia. Nestled in the hills of eastern Kentucky, in particular Prestonsburg. It's the MWO podcast on Patreon. Hosted by the creepy Kentuckian and Uncle Bill. Take it away, Bose.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Boz. Boz Rotten, that's my full name. Piece of shit, yeah.
Howdy, folks, and welcome. It's Wednesday, June the 8th. I am the creepy Kentuckian, and I have a very special co-host with me today. You guys know him. One of the most requested co-hosts, other than Uncle Bill. It's the real deal himself, Jay Real. What's going on, dude?
Oh, not much. Enjoying the 100-degree plus Texas heat.
You've been working on this throughout the pandemic. When the pandemic started, I think all of us was trying to, do something to help fill that time. All of us were kind of, we're kind of at a standstill, So this was a short film that you've been working on for the past, over 2 years or so, yeah. Right?
I had sent you an early version of the script. It was a good 2 years ago. And that was right before the pandemic really just hit and just sort of shut everything down.
This is kind of like I'm not sure what the budget was on it, but it's very low budget. Yeah. So it's kind of like you're relying on people that kind of want to do it. Yeah,
there's no money, I might help with gas a little bit, I don't drive, so my, one of my main actors had the one that played the father had to come get me to take me to shooting locations. And so I give him gas money, that kind of thing. Sometimes I'd, feed him at, Taco Bell or something.
Right. There you go.
But pretty much the budget was
Taco Bell.
Very minimal. Yeah.
And you work a lot with young actors. Like, do you find it's easier or harder to work with kids on these movies?
Yeah, kinda. Part of it sounds creepy, but my mentality is kind of that of a kid. When I think of a story, I kind of look at it through a kid's viewpoint, like this particular story. They are much easier to me to work with than adults. I don't have trouble with adults really, but with kids, they're just game for anything. And as kind of kooky as this particular story is, they love that kind of thing. It's just.
Well, I think, kids too.
The weirder you get, the more they love that kind of stuff. And,
yeah, they're kind of just there to have fun, right? Yeah, so they're not really. They don't have any sort of preconceived ideas of, hey, I'm going to make $1 million off this movie or whatever. It's just like, this is a cool thing that they're going to see themselves in a movie.
And there's almost never a question of, well, why? Why do you want me to do that? Or why do you want me to say it that way? They just, in this case, the girl that played the lead character, she was so game for the part, and she was just so sort of just right for the part that she sort of knew the character even better than I did. So there'd be times where she would say, hey, I like that, but let me try it this way. I think this is the way Dottie, the character's name is Dottie. I think this is the way Dottie would say that. And I'd say, okay, go for it, and she would be right almost all the time. Uh-huh. Her version would be better than mine, so.
One of our favorite videos that we did, and we've talked about this before on, that you did on YouTube years and years ago, was in the Mexia Theater. Theater you grew up, you were in the projection booth for years, right?
Yeah.
And were there any movies that kind of inspired this sort of idea here? Because this is kind of a comedy monster, I don't know, like 60s, 70s monster movie kind of.
Yeah, and there was a guy that posted a review today that really was positive. And he compared it to asylum monster movies, my favorite movie ever is Jaws. And to me, that's the perfect film. It's scary, it's funny, it's exciting, it's even touching in places. And I saw it in that old beat up Mexia theater. And so I've always loved movies that had a monster in it. I'd watch the old Godzilla films. I'd watch good and bad, if it had a creature in it, I would always gravitate to something like that. And I always wanted to make a monster movie, and originally when I first wrote the script, when I sent you that first version of the script, I thought I was going to have to use puppets. I mean, if you remember, there's some parts in the film where the lead girl is playing with like a little hand puppets. Those were going to be my monsters. I got those from Amazon. I thought, well, I bought a portable green screen and I bought these hand puppets. And I thought, well, that's how I'm going to have to do my monsters. But just on a whim, I searched YouTube for green screen T-Rexes that were copyright free. They weren't going to charge money to use the footage. You didn't have to, even give them credit. They just said, yeah, you can use this, no problem, And I actually wrote the people that had the footage that I used. I actually wrote them personally and said, look, I'm making a short film. Can I use this stuff? They said, yeah, feel free. And I actually give them credit in the film. But I actually got to show the monster, which is cool. But I didn't want to overdo it. I didn't want, really, the focus of the movie is the characters, how they interact with each other. But if you're going to make a monster movie, it's cool to show a monster. So, and I'm pleased with the way it turned out. It's cheesy. Some of the effects are a little shaky. They're a little, but it kind of goes along with the mood of the movie, I think.
Honestly, though, I mean, as far as the green screen dinosaur, it's amazing how far technology has moved to where you can just simply drag and drop it into a photo, or a video that's already out there. And, compared to years ago, that wouldn't have been possible. How do you think, like, back in, 2002, 2003, when you were making Dawn, budget-wise, which that one did have a budget, how much could you do Dawn for today if you were just use modern equipment?
Pretty much like this one. Again, I could do it for nothing. I mean, when I made that prequel, the little girl with the fangs in the prequel, it was a dentist here in Mexia, didn't charge me anything. I just called him and said, look, do you do this kind of thing like around Halloween, make, fangs for the kids? And that kind of thing? Yeah. And he knew me. In fact, his ex-wife was in Dawn. She was the lady reporter at the end of the movie that interviews the sheriff. So he knew me. He said, yeah, Jay, I'll make, and so we brought the girl up there and had an impression made. And, he had an assistant and all that. What probably would have been $300 or $400 worth of a procedure, didn't charge me anything. So, and like you say, everything is so cheap now. People are making movies with their cell phones. And I could make, what I used for the two films, the Dawn prequel and this one, I used a DSLR camera that shoots in high definition, and I bought that thing, what was it, 2014,
Oh, wow.
And a cheap $30 microphone that clipped onto it, and these cheap clamp lights that you get at Walmart for like $10, so yeah, compared to what I spent on Dawn, was shooting in that digital video and all that, yeah, I could have made it.
Well, and the whole editing process too, I mean, was completely different because it was like on those DV tapes back in the day, you had to, you had all that, but you really didn't know what it looked like. I mean, you had the viewfinder on the camera, but you really couldn't get a good idea on, hey, how's this going to look? What's it going to sound like? All that. And then just get the process of getting the information from the tape to the computer.
And it was all
Was the
real time.
process.
So if it was an hour
Right.
tape, you had to wait an hour for it to process onto the computer, and then hope there wasn't glitches or jumps or, you know, that kind of thing. Sometimes there'd be a glitch and I'd have to do it all over again, you know. And it'd have to go through the whole hour because it'd be hour-long tapes and you had to wait that whole hour. Now everything is on a little, you know, microchip, whatever. Plug it into the computer and download it. And
that's all it is.
2 seconds.
And instantly you can check it out. And that's the thing with us too. I've got like a whole box of those little DV tapes because whenever we first started doing the Dead Pit on the Road episodes, that's what we recorded on. And it was such a pain in the ass to edit that shit and get it off. And I think I used like Sony Vegas or something like that back in the day, which a lot of people still use. I guess the updated versions of those.
I used a bootleg version of Premiere.
Okay. So yeah, but now, I mean, everything is like, you can edit it all on your phone if you really wanted to, you know. It's crazy. She Made a Monsters, the movie, and I want to include a link on the podcast, the YouTube page. It's making the film festival rounds? Or have you sent it out to many festivals? Or?
You know, through what's called Film Freeway, I've entered some festivals. And, you know, they all have like deadlines, so I haven't heard back from them, you know, because some of them are like, you know, late June, that kind of thing. So I've just started entering festivals. There's a few of them that were free. A few of them were like $10 a piece. So I'm kind of picking and choosing the ones I'm entering, but and just getting it out, trying to get people see it, get some reviews out. And like I said, I got a review that was posted today that I really liked, you know, and sharing that with the cast and such, and getting the word out. But like you say, something like this that doesn't cost anything, very low budget. It's something to do for fun. It's something, and just the whole tone of the movie is very lighthearted and silly and kind of, you know, let's have fun. And even though it was written before the pandemic, I think it kind of was. It came at the right time. This is the right time for this kind of thing, you know. With good Lord, all the shootings and killings and going on right now, and the pandemic, and one thing after another. We need a silly movie like She Made a Monster. So yeah, I'm out to save the world with my stupid movie.
We do have somebody watching us live on the Patreon. Give us the thumbs up.
Up your butt.
Like, subscribe. And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do.
I want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on YouTube.
I don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you dare touch it.
Thumbs up. Subscribe. And click that bell.
For this video officially, it's Old Curly Jaws has a message for you. Go on over to shop.deadpit.com and go look at their Teen Public store right now. You got some new shirts like the Old Curly Jaws official t-shirt, which is brutal and badass. You got the Yummy Gummy shirt with the captain himself on the shirt. You got Uncle Bill's face on a fucking shirt. You got the Final Girl shirt. You got all these shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Get them before they're all out, especially the new one, Bedtime's in39. It doesn't get better than that, so go on out. Check out these shirts at shop.deadpit.com. Go look at their Teen Public store. You're going to have a good old time. Get them all!
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.